Hello, friends. Welcome back. UFC Fight Night. Sandhagen versus Nurmagomedov is this Saturday. And I think we're in for some more good fights. It was a great event last weekend, UFC 304. And I think the UFC is going to follow it up, basically, with another hitter. Some of these fights are bangers. Some of these fights are getting slept on. I don't think they're getting the push that they deserve, but we'll get to them when we get to them. I'm going to be giving my picks and predictions for every single fight on this card. And some other spooky things that I saw. One spooky thing in particular that I saw on Reddit that I think is important to know because it actually changed my pick. And it deals with the co-main event. But starting off with the first prelim. A middleweight men's bout. Sedriques Dumas versus Denis Tiuliulin. Sedriques Dumas I actually like. Even though he's coming off of a loss to Nurmagomedov, it was spooky, man. It was spooky. Nurmagomedov's big, he's powerful. And he also was fouling Sedriques Dumas, if I remember correctly. Like, Sedriques was protesting, saying he got, eye poked or something, and then I think he also got caught on the feet immediately as that was happening. And that led to a finishing sequence that Sedriques Dumas was on the wrong end of. Before that, though, he actually did have some somewhat impressive, I'd say decent performances. Mainly the thing that I'm most impressed with Sedriques Dumas is his grappling. He's a pretty competent wrestler. And I think that's going to be what decides it here between him and Denis Tiuliulin. Sedriques is kind of a skinnier guy, so I don't think he's going to have a notable size advantage over Denis. Even though he is taller and has longer reach, Denis isn't too much smaller than him, and I think he'll be wider, but I think Sedriques Dumas will be able to get this one done by decision very calmly, too. Denis Tiuliulin, the danger comes from maybe being able to knock out Sedriques Dumas. I don't think that's going to happen. I don't think that's going to happen at all. I could see Sedriques Dumas even getting a submission. Who knows? But I'll go with decision, calmly. Second fight. This is a very interesting fight to me, man. Herbert versus Rolando Bedoya. My Peruvian brother, Rolando Bedoya. Rolando. It's spooky, man. I'm going to go with him. This is going to be kind of an emotional pick, but I actually think that Bedoya has had not the worst losses. Despite being 0-2 in the UFC, his losses aren't complete dog shit. He's moving down from welterweight, so I hope that he's going to have a little bit more power. Herbert, I feel like most people know him, at least most casual fans will know him for being the dude that got slaughtered by Ilia Topuria, slaughtered bad, head rolling around, bobbling around, eyes open, unconscious. That was a terrifying knockout, but he is a decent technical striker. If you have only seen that highlight, you might not know. Herbert actually put Ilia Topuria on crazy Queer Street, right before that. He head kicked the hell out of him, almost finished him. It was bad. Dropped him. It was spooky hours for Ilia, but he was able to recover. And eventually put away Herbert. But Herbert was having success on the feet. I think the chin is suspect, and also he's getting on the older side for a lower weight class, 36 years old. He has a good frame. He's 6'1", 77-inch reach. He's going to be bigger than Rolando Bedoya, I think. But I'm hoping, man, that Rolando Bedoya can get this one done by finding the chin. I just don't trust the chin of Herbert. That's actually the one thing holding me up. I do think he's a better technical striker than Rolando Bedoya, but we'll have to see, man. Hopefully Rolando Bedoya can find a little bit of success in this new weight class. Coming from the capital, straight out of Lima, Peru. Good luck to Rolando, man, because it's spooky. He's going to need it, I think. Moving on, women's strawweight bout. Victoria Dudikova versus Sam Hughes. Sam Hughes, I don't think is absolutely horrible or dog shit. In fact, she's almost like a gatekeeper. She's not a gatekeeper in the typical sense, but she's a good test to see whether or not you actually have trained your dog shit. Can you fight consistently? Maybe you got one win in the UFC. Maybe you got a really nice Contender Series win. But, we got to see. We got to see a little bit more. And Sam Hughes is one of those early tests, very low-level tests that can be used to weed out some people. But Victoria Dudikova actually seems fine enough to me. Undefeated at 8-0. 2 of those wins happening in the UFC. Sam Hughes is 8-6. So we'll have a little bit of experience over her. And she does have a decent amount of UFC fights, actually. More than half of her fights are in the UFC. Sam Hughes. I'm not about to switch, though. I'm going with Victoria Dudikova. I think she'll get this one done very calmly. I don't think Sam Hughes, unless for some godforsaken reason, I'll say it now, the fight starts and Sam Hughes basically hits the bully Bilal on fucking Victoria Dudikova as if she were Leon Edwards. There's a chance that happens, but I don't think it's going to happen. Victoria Dudikova is the pick. Fairly confident in that one. I'll say by decision. Moving on to a lightweight bout, and this is kind of spooky hours, actually, because I'm not too familiar with Jordan Vucenic, but I think that's how you say his name. But Garam I am. I'm not the biggest fan of Garam, not to say that I don't recognize the man's talent, or his skill, because he's a decent fighter. I think his record is a little bit deceptive, his UFC record to be specific, because of the loss to Elvis Brenner. He was winning that fight in dominant fashion before he got finished. And I had Elvis Brenner in that fight. That was spooky as fuck, but I digress. I think Garam is going to be able to get this one done. This is but this is a short notice replacement out of this dude's weight class, I'm pretty sure. Also, Jordan might be able to pull off something crazy, kick the door down, pick up a crazy submission, because I noted he went 9-1 in Cage Warriors. I think this dude was going to make the UFC anyways, but he's here on short notice replacement. 9-1 in Cage Warriors with 5 submissions, and the rest being decisions. That's pretty calm to me, actually. I think that's pretty good. 13-2 overall, and very young, 28 years old. He's going to be smaller, a little smaller than Garam, but fuck it. Moving on to a heavyweight men's bout that I'm actually kind of not too excited for, but I'm interested in. Shamil Gaziev versus Dontel Mays. I'm going Shamil Gaziev, man. I've been a Shamil Gaziev hater ever since he went into the UFC. I picked Martin Buday to smoke him in their fight, and then Shamil Gaziev basically dog-walked Martin Buday. That was very sad to me, because I think Martin Buday actually is not that bad. He was on a win streak at that point. He showed some he's shown some striking before, and tolerable cardio, you could say. I'm saying this in favor of Martin Buday, but Shamil Gaziev ran through him. And then he got a main event slot versus Jairzinho Rozenstruik, and I was like, Jairzinho's going to mollywop the fuck out of him. People really didn't think Jairzinho was going to, and he did. He mollywopped him. Dog-walked Shamil in return. Fraud-checked him. Sent him literally back to the prelims. He's on the prelims now. Back to the fucking prelims for you, Shamil Gaziev. I am going to pick Shamil Gaziev here, though. I think he's better than Dontel Mays. As long as he doesn't gas, or he's not, psychologically defeated from his last fight, and he comes out, looking like trash, I think we'll be pretty safe with going with Shamil Gaziev. Dontel Mays unfortunately upset me when he knocked out Andrei Arlovsky. But I'll accept that, because Arlovsky's old, and no need to shit-talk the man. That was just an unfortunate result, but a very possible one at heavyweight especially. I think if anyone's going to do heavy shots on the feet, especially in round 1, it's going to be Shamil Gaziev, because he actually is kind of sharp. He throws some sharp punches. He's quick, and he is aggressive. I'll say he's aggressive, but if you're able to stop that aggression, if you can stop Shamil Gaziev in his tracks, I think he crumbles. I don't know if Dontel will be able to stop him, though. So, moving on. Muhammad Yahya versus Cowie Fernandez. Cowie Fernandez, man. I think this is a redemption fight for both of these dudes. It's a redemption fight for a lot of people on this card. Specifically for both of these dudes. I'm not really too familiar with either one as well. Let me just see one thing. Let's see. So Muhammad Yahya spent a little bit of time in Bellator. He got a knockout and he got tapped out. And that was it. Oh, he got beat by Trevor Peek. That's actually very interesting to me. By decision especially. That's very interesting. Losing a decision to Trevor Peek. This dude picks up 2 knockouts and a decision loss in LFA. Loses to Mark Casey. Okay. I can accept that, actually. I can take that loss kind of calmly. I'm going to go with Kelly Fernandez to get this one done by decision, because I'm not too well versed on these dudes. Kelly, let's see, how many? Could say even KO TKO. I'll say KO TKO. Fuck it, honestly. Even though we're going to save that to the end, but moving on, Alonzo Menefield versus Azimad Mirzakhanov. Alonzo Menefield has been kind of a staple pick on this channel since the inception of the picks and predictions, pretty much. He's come through for me multiple times, man, as an underdog, as a big underdog. He's let me down, too. He's let me down. You can't win every single fight. But he's come through in some big times for me. I think Alonzo Menefield has a lot of heart. He also has spooky power, atomic power. He's only getting older, but Azimad is not that young himself. He's 35. Azimad is 35. Alonzo is 36. What's really interesting here to me is that Alonzo apparently has a massive size advantage over this dude in terms of reach. Azimad Mirzakhanov is listed as having a 71.5-inch reach compared to Alonzo Menefield's 76, and I think that's going to help Alonzo land first. I think whoever lands first cleanly here will win. I'm going with Alonzo Menefield, man. He's done me proud before. I think he'll do me proud again. Moving on. Joel Alvarez versus Elvis Brenner, man. This is fucking spooky hours here. Joel Alvarez is good. He's a good fighter. He's a dangerous fighter that often finishes dudes when they get hurt. If there's blood in the water, he'll capitalize on that 100%. Elvis Brenner, though, again, one of these dudes, a struggler, you could say. A struggler. Someone fighting against fate. Someone who should have lost fights before, but actually said fuck that and bugged out and won them. The dude's a dog, man, with deceptive, sneaky power. And he also, like I said, has a lot of heart. So, what gets it done here, man? I need another quick refresher on Joel Alvarez's most recent win specifically. I think I'm going to go with Elvis Brenner. Again, I think Joel Alvarez might be the more all-around skilled fighter here. But I think I'm just going to roll the dice and go with the dog a little bit, because I think that the gap between them is not too much, especially in the grappling. I know Joel Alvarez, a lot of the threat is the submissions, but I don't think Elvis is just incompetent when it comes to submission defense. I think he'll be fine, actually. The thing that does give me pause, again, is the size difference. I think that Joel Alvarez is going to have a notable size advantage. However, that comes at the cost of this dude might be cut. He might come in like a zombie. 6'3", cutting down to 155 again. I'm going with Elvis Brenner. Yes, 100% I'm going with Elvis Brenner, actually. I mean, I can only assume that Elvis is the underdog. It's near even. Moving on. Women's strawweight bout. Mackenzie Dern versus Lupita Godinez. Lupita Godinez. I'm going with Lupi Godinez. I think Mackenzie Dern, you've heard me say on this channel multiple points, this person is deceptively good. They have deceptive power. They have sneaky power. Mackenzie Dern is deceptively dog shit. She's deceptively dog shit. It's as simple as that. There's maybe a teensy tiny grappling edge in terms of like offensive submission attempts. Maybe. But I think Lupita Godinez is completely competent in wrestling and takedown defense. And if anything, has way better striking. I think that's going to be clear. Mackenzie Dern is dog shit. Okay? Her record is deceptive, and for bad reasons. Not in the good way. Not in the way that like a Jai Herbert's record is kind of deceptive, or like a Garam Kutateledze's fucking record is deceptive. No, not at all. Mackenzie Dern is not as good as her record would tell you. She's pretty mids. She's dog shit, actually. I think Lupita's going to win. Very simple as that. I think it'll be a calm decision. I think she's going to be in clear control of the fight the entire time. It might not be a complete beatdown, but she'll be winning the fight the entire time. Moving on. Again, this is a fight that you might not have had any fucking idea that this was happening, because I really didn't hear about it anywhere until I actually started looking and picking these fights. Tony Ferguson versus Mikel... Oh, Mikel. I'm already thinking about some later shit. Versus Michael Chiesa. Tony Ferguson versus Michael Chiesa. An interesting matchup. I don't think you can pick Tony, and a lot of people have had to say this, me included. You really can't pick Tony in good faith right now. Moving up a weight class too, from lightweight into welterweight. Michael Chiesa, despite not being the most trustworthy pick himself, like, you have to pick Michael Chiesa here, really. I don't think Tony's going to be able to offer much. He might get finished by I keep saying Mikel. I'm thinking Michael Chiesa might be able to find a submission here. I don't think Tony Ferguson is going to be able to win this fight. I don't see how he can win this fight. Logical pick. You really can't pick Tony Ferguson in good faith. Michael Chiesa is the pick. Moving on to a bantamweight men's bout, the featured fight. Firefight. But the matchmaker is definitely cooked with this one, you could say. Marlon Chito Vera versus Davison Figueiredo, the god of war. Do together. That shit is going to be insanity. I was initially extremely confident on my pick of Davison Figueiredo. But I'm concerned that maybe Chito's chin holds up and he has his own moments that just sway the fight or possibly even lead to him winning in some kind of spooky fashion. Davison is fucking great, though. Like, that's the thing. He's somehow gotten better and kept giving consistently good performances. I picked against him in his fight against Cody Garbrandt. Kind of an emotional pick, but I also thought Cody Garbrandt might be able to do a little bit more than he was actually able to. And Davison was very impressive in that fight, in the way that he finished Cody Garbrandt with that submission. That was fantastic. I could see the same thing happening to Marlon Vera. That's actually what I'm going to go out on a limb and say is going to happen. I'm going to go with Davison Figueiredo by submission. Moving on. Chito is tough, though. Chito is younger than Davison. He has a crazy chin, like I just said. And he throws straight strikes. He knows how to strike. The dude isn't just like a slouch, you know. But I think Davison is just... the more well-rounded game is going to pay dividends in this matchup, I think. In favor of Figueiredo. Moving on to the co-main event of Nurmagomedov versus Mikal. This is why I've been saying Mikal. Versus Mikal Oleksiejczuk. Man, I don't want to say I used to be a fan of Mikal Oleksiejczuk, because I still am, and I'm going to be rooting for him extremely, as hard as I can possibly root for the man, you know? I'm not going to be picking him. Emotional or not. I was actually going to pick him emotionally at first. Until I saw something on Reddit that made the rounds, and it was a response. It was an interaction between Mikal and I guess one of his fans, or just someone commenting on his Instagram, really. I'm going to post a picture of it, like, right now, like, right next to my face, so you can see what I'm talking about. But Mikal basically responded to someone who was telling him, I don't know if they were trying to shit on him, like, troll him, like, I think they were. They're like, oh, have you given, like, KSW, which is a lower level, like, kind of local, regional promotion, regional MMA promotion. Have you given them any consideration? Like, have you thought about fighting there, like, basically, like, after you lose this fight, or, like, when you're done, or some shit like that? And Mikal said, I wish I could look it up and get it verbatim, but I'm obviously recording that on my phone. It's going to be right here. You'll see what it says. But as much as I can recall, he basically says, oh, I probably will, like, I know I probably will lose this fight, and if I do, I'm done with sports. He was like, I'm done with sports. That's sad, bro, but I don't know, like, And it's so fucked up, just the vibe that comment gives off. It's not like I think that you're even trying to, like, use a little bit of deception and guile and be like, it's over, I'm not even training, I don't give a fuck about what happens. And then in reality, you're sleeping in the gym, you're fucking going hard as hell. But I don't think that's happening. I don't think that's what Mikhal's doing. I think Mikhal maybe is breaking, because I've said this in multiple videos at this point, because he's fought somewhat recently, he's had a fucking tough run of fights recently, man. A tough run of fights. I think he's a lot better than his record would show, but it's super rough, man. It's super rough. Super fucking rough, man. Vitor Petrino. Fucking, Michel Pereira. Meme shit. And then Kevin Holland, bro. And I picked him every single time to win those fights. He didn't. He got finished, in fact. The Kevin Holland one was good, because at least then we saw a little bit of what Mikhal used to show a lot. We saw some power. He got a knockdown on Kevin Holland. That was fire. But against a dude like Shara, like a straight striker, like, unless I see a similar punch than the one that he dropped, a similar punch to the one that he dropped Kevin Holland with, I don't see how he gets it done against Shara. I think Shara just beats him to a decision, honestly. If not, finishes him on the feet, maybe. If he really can. I want to pick Mikhal so bad. I'm going to be rooting with him. I'm going to be rooting with him. I'm going to be rooting with him and for him, all that stuff, for real. Because it pains me, man. It pains me to see the depths that Mikhal has fallen to, where he's basically saying, I'm done with sports if I lose this next fight, which I probably will. Like, that's craziness, man. It's craziness. Moving on to the main event of Corey the Sandman Sandhagen, or Corey Sandman Sandhagen, rather, versus Umar Nurmagomedov. Going with Umar Nurmagomedov. Umar. There was a point where I still doubted Umar, for real, but I don't think you really can at this point. If you're making arguments for Corey Sandhagen and saying, oh, well, he has the technique on the ground to be able to survive and turn the tides into his favor, I think you might be preemptively coping a little bit. You might be coping. Umar is eating the lamb and chicken over rice that halal... Umar is eating that same halal that fucking Bilal Muhammad was eating, okay? Like, that's all I'm going to say with that. He's eating the same lamb and chicken over rice. And the chicken came from Mexico. It was the roid chicken that Canelo was eating. God, man. I think Umar gets this one done. I think Umar maybe even finishes Corey Sandhagen, to be honest with you. I'm not too set on that, but there we go. I know this video might be a little bit tweaky, bit of a not new, but I'm just in constant pain. I fucked up my foot, and it's derailing my thoughts. I think that's pretty much it. It was so unlucky. I was watching the fights. I was watching UFC 304 with my boys. I went to go grab my boy another drink, and I dropped the fucking full bottle from, like, roughly, like, chest, like, almost neck height. I wasn't wearing shoes. I was in my house, and it landed squarely on my big toe and just fucking broke my shit. And it fucking hurts so bad. It's been way better, though. Way better, way better, way better. First couple days was hell because I didn't even go to the hospital. But I'm just fucking ranting about my toe. I think we're in for a treat with these fights. 1 subscriber away from 50. We're at 49. Like the video if you like it. Dislike the video if you dislike it, or if you disagree with any of my picks, or if you think I'm just chatting, tweaking, have any criticism of any kind, leave it in the comments below, please. I always love reading the comments, and I will get back to you. I promise that. Subscribe if you'd like to see more. Like I said, almost at 50, and then we can hit Fight Companions every single UFC event. And just some other live streams as well. But, as always, much love. Big kiss.